All right, let's jump right in. Today we're talking about something with a name that sounds, well, intense. Creditor-on-creditor violence. And honestly, the name fits. It's a high-stakes game playing out in corporate finance, and it is completely rewriting the rulebook for distressed debt.
And this quote right here, it just nails the central irony of the whole situation. A legal approach that was supposed to make things predictable and clear has, according to researchers, done the exact opposite. A system that was built for order is now, believe it or not, fueling chaos.
So what are we actually talking about with this corporate violence? No, it's not a physical brawl in a boardroom, but it is an absolutely brutal fight for financial survival, where lenders who are supposed to be on the same team, well, they turn on each other. Let's dig into how it actually works.
Okay, first up, we're going to define the key terms and tactics in what's being called this new corporate blood sport. You really have to understand the playbook to get what's going on in this high-stakes world of distressed debt, where billions of dollars are literally on the line. So at its heart, creditor-on-creditor violence is when a group of lenders, usually the ones holding the most debt, get together with a company that's in trouble. They use these really aggressive legal moves to change the debt agreement, basically letting them jump to the front of the repayment line. And in doing so, they shove other lenders who thought they had the exact same rights all the way to the back. The weapon of choice in this fight is something called a liability management exercise, or just an LME. You can think of it as a creative financial maneuver. A company uses an LME to rearrange its debts. But here's the kicker. These moves often don't need everybody to agree, using loopholes to get around needing consent from all the lenders. And here we see a breakdown of a classic LME. It's called the up tier. Let's just use the real-world case of Sir Simmons to see how it works. So step 1, the company's in trouble, it needs cash. Step 2, it convinces a majority of its lenders to agree to change the rules of the game. Step 3, it invents a whole new class of super senior debt. And then step 4, that majority group gets to swap their old regular debt for this new better debt. And what happens to the lenders who didn't get on the deal? Well, they're left holding paper that is suddenly worth a whole lot less. So you might be wondering, how do we even get to this point, right? Well, this didn't just pop up overnight. It was a long time coming. A whole series of legal shifts and market changes over decades really set the stage for this kind of behavior. This timeline really shows how it was a perfect storm. Back in the 80s, courts started reading contracts hyper-literally. Then in the 90s, you get the LBO boom, which brought this new bare-knuckle, win-at-all-costs attitude. Then, the 2000s, and we start seeing loans shed all the rules that were designed to protect lenders in the first place. That's the covenant-light trend. Fast forward to today, and Cov-Lite is the norm, which has basically created a perfect playground for these aggressive deals. So let's talk about this idea of debt textualism, because it's absolutely crucial. It's a legal philosophy that basically says, look, if it's not written down in black and white in the contract, it doesn't count. Courts started tossing out ideas like an implied duty of good faith. They told lenders, if you want protection, you better spell it out, word for word. And that just blew the doors wide open for people to exploit any tiny loophole they could find.
And that brings us to where we are right now. Over 90%. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. Over 90% of the entire leveraged loan market is now covenant light. That means the overwhelming majority of these huge corporate loans are missing the traditional safety features that used to give lenders a heads up when a company was getting into trouble.
Let's just look at them side by side. Old school loans, they had strict rules, covenants that were like tripwires. If a company's finances slept, boom, the alarm went off, and lenders knew right away. Covenant light loans, they've basically ripped out those tripwires. Sure, it gives borrowers a ton more flexibility, but it leaves lenders flying blind, and they often don't find out there's a huge problem until it's way too late.
And the players in this game have changed, too. You've got private equity sponsors who are desperate to protect their investment, and you have this new breed of super sophisticated distressed debt investors whose entire job is to pore over contracts looking for these exact loopholes. The old school cooperative norms, they're gone, replaced by a cutthroat game of contractual gotcha. Okay, but this is where the story gets really interesting. Is all of this just bad? Is it just destructive chaos? Or, and stick with me here, could there actually be some kind of surprising hidden efficiency to it all? This is the great debate that's raging right now. You've got two very different takes. On one side, the critics are saying, this is a disaster. It destroys trust, it makes things totally unpredictable, and it leads to these incredibly expensive lawsuits. It just torpedoes the whole idea that lenders in the same group get treated the same. But on the other side, new research is suggesting something pretty wild.
that the threat of these deals might actually be a good thing for companies. It lets them shed debt when things go bad, almost like a safety valve to avoid a full-blown bankruptcy.
And here it is, straight from that research paper. It's a really counterintuitive idea. The theory is that this whole mechanism, as rough as it seems, creates this weirdly efficient way to reduce debt that, in the long run, benefits companies from day one, from the moment they first take out the loan.
All of this has kicked off what you can only really call an arms race. It's a constant back and forth. The borrowers and their friendly lenders come up with a new aggressive play, and then the lenders who got left out go to their lawyers to invent a new defense to put in the next contract. It's like financial warfare, turning credit agreements into battlefields.
And the offensive playbook is getting pretty creative. We already talked about uptiering. Drop-downs are when a company shuffles its best assets over to a new subsidiary where the old lenders can't get to them. And things like double dips and non-pro rata exchanges, they're all just different ways of giving special treatment to the favored group.
But of course, the other side is fighting back. Lenders are now demanding these ironclad contract clauses that are being called LME blockers. And they're designed to shut down all these tricks we just talked about, to explicitly forbid unequal payments, stop their debt from being subordinated, and lock down the valuable collateral that's backing their loan.
And where does all this end up? In court. You've got these massive, high-stakes legal battles going on right now, with judges trying to make sense of these unbelievably complex documents. The ground is constantly shifting under everyone's feet, and all signs point to even more lawsuits in the coming years. So the future here is anything but certain.
So what's the bottom line here? What does this all mean for the market? Let's try and boil it all down to the key takeaways and the lasting effects of this new reality.
Well, the impacts are huge. For starters, borrowing money is getting more expensive. Lenders want higher interest rates to cover this new risk. Second, going to court isn't the exception anymore. It's becoming the norm. Third, the skills you need to be an investor are changing. It's not enough to be a numbers wizard. You need an elite legal team to navigate the contractual minefield. And finally, the most basic assumption, that everyone in the same class gets treated equally. That idea has been seriously damaged.
And of course, as always, this is not financial advice.
So we'll leave you with this final thought. We're in a world now where legal loopholes have literally become profit centers. The whole conflict has really boiled down to a battle of wills. So who's going to write the final chapter in this high-stakes game? Will it be the creative lawyers finding new lines of attack, or the lenders desperately trying to build a better defense? The answer is going to shape the future of corporate finance.